to my kings, queens, and in-betweens. I'm Valerie, and welcome to my channel, The Bookish Valkyrie. So, today's video is not what I had originally planned. This whole week is kind of different than I had originally planned. I was going to do, as I mentioned in my last video, a NaNoWriMo basics, along with some get unstuck tips. And I did film that video, but I'm gonna have to refilm it because when I went to edit it, the sound was just not working. So I am skipping to the next video that I had on my list because I just can't bring myself to film the same video twice in a row. So we are going to be talking about my December plans. So I have been in some form of customer service and or retail for pretty much my entire adult life. And the holidays have always been hell because of it. And I lost all of that holiday joy that I had growing up when I hit my teens. And about 5 years ago, I decided that I was done with the humbug and was going to reclaim that joy. So I started reading holiday romances, although I think I'm going to also widen my area of holiday reading to include maybe some cozy mysteries and maybe a holiday horror or two. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see what happens throughout the month. So I'm going to start with the books that I have read already, the two books that I've read already for the holiday romances, which are In the Event of Love by Courtney Kay and A Reluctant Santa by Roan Parrish. So In the Event of Love is a sapphic romance, and it is one of those, it's complicated romances. So basically, the main couple is two women who grew up together as best friends, and just as they started to cross the line from best friends to lovers, something went wrong, and then all of a sudden they became ex-best friends. I wouldn't say they were enemies, but I mean, there's definitely kind of an enemies vibe, but it's definitely more ex-best friends than enemies. And then many years down the line, now that they're adults, one of them who has been gone since graduation has come back fleeing a PR nightmare with her current job, which is as an event planner. So she is back in town to throw a charity event that turns out to be for her high school bestie. And they are now thrown together, and so it's a little bit second chance romance, second chance friendship / romance. It's very sweet. The steamy scenes are steamy, and the friendship makes sense. I did have a hard time getting into it at first, but that's because I had a hard time identifying with the way the main character thinks or originally thought. As she started to get out of her own way, I definitely got more into it, and in the end, I really loved it, and I think that I will enjoy it quite a bit more on the reread because at least I have found that once I have read a book all the way through, when I reread it again, the things that irritated me the first time around don't really irritate me as much or at all as the first time around, because I know where things are going, where things are headed, and where this mentality is coming from and why they are thinking and feeling the way that they're feeling. So I expect that this will probably be a favorite next year. This year, I rated it a 3.5. I'm guessing on the reread, it'll goose up to a 4, maybe even a 4.5. Who knows? It could be a 5 next year. We'll see next year. And then I read The Reluctant Santa by Roan Parrish, which is a favorite reread. It's all of 26 pages, and it is just the right amount of grumpy sunshine. And I don't know how Roan Parrish does this, but she took all of the angst and all of the warm fuzzies and mushed them together in 26 pages into a believable romance. So I don't know how you do that, but I have read it, I have seen it, and that is A Reluctant Santa. I am currently reading Grinch Kisses by DJ Jameson. It is the first in a new series that she's writing called Christmas Falls, and I expect that it's going to be great. It is a spin-off from all of the Granville trilogies that I had buttoned up last month. I am really excited to see what this new town is going to be like. And I love that I am getting Christmas romances from one of my favorite authors. And I really have just started, so I can't really give you any kind of feel for how it's going. I'm only a few pages in, but the excitement is real. And then I am also reading an old favorite, The Sugar Queen by Sarah Addison Allen. A little bit later getting to this one, but I am still loving it. I am, I think, 7 or 8 chapters in, and I just love it. It's got 2 romances going on in it, and it's definitely the book that helps me get into the season every year. All right, so I've got these next ones grouped kind of according to author. I'm trying to start with just the ones that I have read so far that I can absolutely recommend, and then I will go into the shorter list of books that I am looking at and hoping to read and enjoy. So the first one is, the first author is Roan Parrish, who I just mentioned with Reluctant Santa. Basically, I have never found a Roan Parrish book that I didn't love. So the series that I want to talk about is Garnet Run, and it started out as part of Karina Adores. I don't know, is the whole thing Karina Adores? No, okay. So it started out as Karina Adores, and it started with Better Than People, which is great, but not exactly holiday. And then it moves on to Best Laid Plans, which is also great, and it is following the brother of one of the main characters in Better Than People, but it definitely rolls into Christmas. So if you want to start with the beginning of the series, that's great. If you want to start here, that's also great. And this is one of my favorite ones in stories in the Garnet Run series. And then the one that is the Harlequin Special Edition, that is The Lights on Knockbridge Lane. It's a romance between a very sweet scientist and his single dad, also a very sweet neighbor. It's really great fun and pretty funny, and basically they bond over a situation that the single dad gets himself into with his daughter, where she wants the most Christmas lights on her house ever, but they are struggling financially, and so he turns to Instagram and asking for donated lights to make his daughter's Christmas dream come true. And she is absolutely certain that if she can have the most lights ever, that all of her wishes will come true and her life will be happy ever after. And she pretty much gets her wish. I won't tell you exactly what goes down with the lights or the details of the romance, but everybody ends up happily ever after. All right, and then next up I have The Geek Who Saved Christmas by Annabeth Albert. Let's see if I can get it to focus, because it really doesn't want to focus on my books today. So The Geek Who Saved Christmas is an older couple. One of them is a silver fox, and the silver fox is a bit of a Grinch when it comes to Christmas. And his love interest is the cheerful neighbor next door who has spent the last few years begging him to put up at least some lights, something. He is Mr. Christmas. He is the epitome of holiday joy. And he is just so sweet. And our Grinchy silver fox is, underneath it all, very sweet as well. So he's a bit crunchy on the outside, but ooey gooey on the inside. And I have reread this one a few times. I really enjoy it. And then, this was new to me last year, Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cotran. And I'm pretty sure this was a new release last year, too. Yeah. Book of the month new release. So this is a sapphic romance where they meet and they have an amazing night and something goes wrong. They fall in love in one night, but something goes wrong. And then the majority of the book takes place the next year, the next Christmas, when one of them shows up at the other's family Christmas on the arm of her brother as his new fiance. And we'll just say it's a sapphic romance, and so she doesn't wind up with the brother. It is complicated and dramatic, and if you are here for the drama, this is the Christmas read for you. My books are falling everywhere. All right. And then I have some Adriana Herrera books for you. So Adriana Herrera was the author who gave me my very first sapphic romance, and I was so happy to have it. So happy to have it. And that romance was Mangoes and Mistletoe, and it is a short story. It's a short sapphic romance that is centered around Great British Bake Off style baking competition. And our two lady loves are competitors. And it is Grumpy Sunshine, Happy Holidays. It makes you hungry. You really want to eat everything that they bake. And you do end up with a lot of cravings for mangoes in this romance. It's wonderful. And that same year, she came out with Her Night with Santa, which, if you are looking for something a little bit more on the erotic side and still sapphic, this is definitely the one for you. There is some insta love, and Santa's a woman, and her lady love is a toy maker, but not the type of toys that Santa tends to have on her sleigh. The other kind, the kind that are in your bedside drawer. And it is short and fun and definitely worth the read. And then next I have a Christmas short story that ties in with her American Dreamer series, and that is American Christmas. The two male protagonists in this book are background characters that you see throughout the American Dreamer series, and this is you see them get together. Actually, like, the beginning of their relationship is in the background, or like secondary or tertiary characters in the main Dreamers series. But this is their book, and it is centering around their Christmas together, and kind of tying up all the loose ends for their stories. You can read it without having read the rest of that series, but it definitely has a lot more depth to it if you read it after reading the other books in the series. And then the next two from Adriana Herrera are ones that I have not read yet. So I have Just for the Holidays, is a romance it's set in Christmas, and that's really all I know about it. That, and that it's written by Adriana Herrera. So I'm here for it. I don't really need to know what else is going on with it, and I am super excited to read that. The last one from Adriana Herrera is Amor Actually. And again, all I know is that it is basically queer Christmas. And I'm here for it. It's an intersectional Christmas romance anthology. And then I'm going back to a trilogy that I have already read, and that is the Mr. Christmas series. It is by Letta Blake. The first one is Mr. Frosty Pants, which is a second chance romance, somewhat similar to In the Event of Love, where it's two best friends who share one kiss and then everything goes wrong and they go off and become adults. And the one who left town comes back, and they're both carrying torches for each other. And it's definitely one of the harder romances. It's not all light and fluffiness. It ends up there, but there is definitely some content warnings for child abuse. In the past, there is parental verbal abuse with his adult son, who is one of the protagonists, and that is on page. There is, for the other protagonist, there's difficulty with his father not accepting him as he is. First, his father struggled with him being gay, and once he got past that, he is now struggling with his partner's class level. So there's some class issues there as well. And then the next book in the series is Mr. Naughty List. And this one is definitely a taboo romance, although the way that it's done kind of pulls it back away from the taboo, but it still kind of has that taboo flavor to it, because this is a romance, an age gap romance between a teacher and his many years removed former student. The teacher, while the other guy was his student, did not have any feelings for him other than maybe a little bit of terror, because he found some of his students intimidating, and in particular this student was very intimidating because of his very intense stares. And he was a very large boy, and so he found him somewhat intimidating. And then the other thing that makes this power dynamic not icky, at least for me, is that not only is this like 10 years later and very much time removed, and he was only in one class with him 10 years ago. This power dynamic is a dom sub situation, definitely very kinky, and the younger man is the dom and the older man is very much the sub. So that kind of balances out the tabooness of where they started versus where they are now. And then the final book in the series is Mr. Jingle Bells. And this one is two business partners who are business partners with one of the characters from Mr. Frosty Pants. And one of them is exuberant and Mr. I'd rather let my flame burn bright than be a tiny little pilot light. And he is just beautiful. I love him. He is wandering around, bringing joy to everyone all year long. But, in a snappy way. And then his love interest is a grouch who is so straight-laced, it's intense. Like, seriously intense. And what the content warnings for this is for somebody who has dealt with past childhood abuse, and somebody who found themselves neglected and abandoned by a parent, and dealt with a parent's addiction. And his partner's situation is that he had a gambling problem at one time. He's not really a gambling addict, but the hair that you're splitting there is very fine, and it does cause trouble between the two. None of that is spoiler because you get that pretty much from the beginning, and it unfolds into what it does. Basically, they have some forced proximity, and romance takes off from there. It's all very fun, and one of my favorite trilogies. I have read the whole series a couple of times, and I will definitely be reading it again this year. All right, and then the next series I have for you is Minnesota Christmas by Heidi Cullinan, and there are 4 books in the series. The first 3 I can recommend wholeheartedly. The 4th one will come with some heavy content warnings. The first book is Let It Snow. This one is very straightforward, easy on the content warnings, not a lot of issues to make it a difficult read. And it is a snowed in Goldilocks and the Three Bears style story. Basically a small town boy who currently lives in this city is visiting his family and gets lost on the way home and finds himself snowed in a very small town. And he finds himself snowed in with 3 lumberjacks. It is not a white shoes or polyamorous story, although that does come in later for other characters in the series. This one is a very straightforward, traditional male snowed in romance. It's lots of fun, lots of back and forth. That is really interesting dynamics between the 3 lumberjack roommates and their snowed in guest. And then the next book is Sleigh Ride, and this is with one of the other lumberjacks who he doesn't ever want to be tied down. He doesn't want a traditional relationship. He's had an on again, off again relationship with one of his besties / the third of the 3 bears. The original 3 friends who are lumberjacks, and they've always had like an on again, off again thing, but he refused to commit. And at the beginning of this story, he kind of has like a final split with him, and now he keeps finding himself running into the new librarian, and he and this librarian have a very kinky relationship. There's some non-con or consensual non-consent, along with like some spanking and some light like tying up and whatnot. So there's a very kinky romance. If you're not into kink, you may want to skip this one. And the third book is Winter Wonderland, and this is our third bear. And he ends up finding himself in a age gap romance with a nurse from the local nursing home. He has found himself the object of this guy's affection for quite some time. And then things occur, and all of a sudden they find themselves thrown into each other's paths, and romance happens. And then the 4th book, the one with the heavy content warnings, this one is actually bringing back the couple from the 2nd book, Arthur and I can't remember his name, but the librarian, Arthur the librarian. So their kinky relationship becomes an open relationship with a third partner who they are dating. And this third partner is kind of, let's see, what's it called? Santa Baby. So he's kind of become this small town's Santa because he's bringing in a lot of business and revitalizing this small town. And in over the course of this relationship that he's having with this couple, his past relationship comes back up. The person he was in a relationship with the previous year was abusive and did bad things to him. And then when he finds himself back in the city briefly, before he goes back to the small town, there is an on-page assault. It is not gratuitous, but it is there, and there is no content warning in the book itself, which is why I felt the need to mention it in detail here, because I was not expecting it. The description of the book does lead you to understand that his previous partner was abusive, but it does also lead you to believe that it's completely off page, and it's not. So when he goes back to town, he is assaulted by his previous partner, and then he comes back to town, and there is some blackmail involved from this previous partner, and so he has to deal with the trauma from that, deal with the blackmail, and it is a very heavy book. There is a very good happy ending. I personally don't think I will be rereading this book just because I wasn't prepared for it when I read it the first time, and I am not prepared to read it again at this point. But I will definitely I'm sure I will definitely read the first 3 books again, and I may read the 4th book again, just not this year. The next book that I have for you is a Christmas novella that happens within a series. It is the Christmas novella for Mismatched Mates. It happens after the 2nd book. And it isn't necessarily a romance so much as revisiting the couples from the first 2 books. And so the first 2 books are following brothers. Each one follows a brother from a pack of werewolves. And this novella features their mates, these brothers as mates, figuring out how to be family and figuring out how to be friends, and both friends and brothers-in-law and enemies all at once. It's messy and a good time. There are pack dynamics. There are revisiting couple dynamics. There's definitely some spicy scenes. And there are zombies. Lots and lots of zombies. It's a generally good Christmas time. And so if you're looking for your Christmas to be a little more monster-oriented, this is definitely the novella for you. You can read it on its own, but it definitely means a lot more if you read it after reading the first 2 books in the Mismatched Mates series by Elliot Grayson. Next up, I have another novella. This one is called Being Merry by Mika James. And this short Christmas romance is sapphic, and it is a black romance with forced proximity, and it's very much the grumpy Grinch sunshine dynamic. It's short and steamy and very, very romantic. I loved it, and Mika James is just an amazing author. If you haven't read anything from her, this is a great place to start. The next one I have is also a novella. This one is from one of my favorite authors, Talia Hibbert, and it is Mary Inkmas. Our female protagonist finds herself fired after doing a good deed for somebody in need, and basically out on her ear just in time for winter to be coming in heavy and hard. And the customer who she has been lightly flirting with up until this time turns out to be the owner of a tattoo parlor, and he offers her a job to help replace the job that she has just lost. And he also does a good deed for the person that she was trying to help out when she got fired. So you have this kind of forced proximity between two people who find each other very attractive, but they also find themselves butting heads quite a bit. So you've got a little bit of enemies to lovers feel, you've got a little bit of unrequited lust feel to it, and then they fall in love, and that lust is definitely requited. It's a great fast read, and if you like Talia Hibbert, this is a great Christmas novel from her that you should definitely check out. And then also in the novella section, I have Gifting Me to His Best Friend by Katie Robert. It is very kinky. It is a threesome situation between a married couple and the husband's best friend, who they've had an ongoing years-long flirtation with, and now this is the year that they decide to go for it. And there are complications, and they're quickly dealt with, and it's just a fun erotic Christmas read. All right, so the next set of books I have are all of the books that I am looking at reading but have not read yet, not including the ones that were by authors that I've read from before. So we have Snowed In with Benefits by Misha Horn. I honestly don't remember why I picked this book up, but it's one that I have had on my Kindle Unlimited TBR for quite a while. I think I picked it up last year and just didn't get to it. I honestly don't remember why I picked it up, but it's on my list to get to this year. It is a male romance and Christmas-y. I'm assuming it's snowed in because of the title, Snowed In with Benefits. Yeah. And like I said before, that is the trope that I always go for. So I am hoping for a good read there. Although it is longer, it's a little over 400 pages. So for a romance, it's on the longer side. But I expect to be able to get through it pretty quickly. Honestly, Christmas romances are like popcorn. They just disappear so fast. And then I also have Christmas in Mistletoe by Claire Lydon. This is a sapphic Christmas romance. And I know that there is like one of the main characters is a singer. And it's set in a small town. And that's about all I know about this one. I really do go into these knowing very little, and it usually turns out pretty all right, but who knows, we'll see. I expect that this will probably go quickly as well. And then I have, from an author I have read before, but this is the only Christmas novel from her that I own, and that is An Affair Before Christmas by Eloisa James. It's a historical Christmas romance, and I love Eloisa James. I haven't read anything from her in a long time because I haven't read a ton of historical romance in recent years, but I am definitely happy to pick up this historical romance for the season. And then going into non-romance but Christmas related titles, I am looking at a couple of cozy mysteries. One is Gusty Lovers and Cadavers by Anne Tan. It is a cozy mystery. I really don't know anything beyond that. It's just a cozy mystery for Christmas. And then there is an anthology of, I think, cozy mysteries. It is 6 Merry Little Murders, and it has multiple authors, I believe. And again, I don't really know anything about it, but I own it and I would like to get to it. And then the final book that I have on my list of to reads is Krampus by Brahm. So it is a holiday horror, as far as I understand. There's not any romance. I don't know. There might be romance. But I mean, really, I don't need to know anything else. It's Krampus. I'm happy to read anything with Krampus in it. And I don't know if I'll get to all of these titles. I don't know if I'll get to all the ones that I haven't read yet, or if I'll pick up other books that I haven't read yet. But those are the books that I can definitely recommend that I have read, and the books that I am looking at that I haven't read. So have a happy holiday season, and I'll see you next video. I've actually already started my holiday romances. It's a little bit friends to lovers, enemies to lovers. Well, friends to lovers to enemies to lovers after a large gap. Childhood friends. And then I am currently reading Grinch Chris. It is a cinnamon roll, but looks like a Grinch from the outside. Okay, it's a romance. Mangoes and mistletoes, and the reason mistletoe and the reason that mango and mistletoes